match day 22 in the NWSL. Big action taking place across the league. We're here to preview all of it for you as we take a look at the schedule coming up for this weekend. Friday night, just one match in the NWSL. Angel City taking on Washington Spirit, 10 p.m. kick. You can watch it on Prime. On Saturday, 4 matches. Kansas City against Gotham. Utah taking on Louisville. Orlando Pride taking on Houston Dash, 7:30 p.m. on Saturday. And then late night Saturday action, San Diego hosting Portland Thorns, that match on Ion. A doubleheader Sunday, Chicago Red Stars against North Carolina Courage and Seattle Reign against Bay FC. Playoff implications on the line this weekend. We'll hit them as we go out, but the only team that could potentially be eliminated from playoff contention is Utah. A loss against Louisville on Saturday at 7 p.m. could eliminate the Royals. But one of the biggest matchups with hosting playoff implications on the line is Kansas City Current hosting Gotham FC. It is number 3 against number 4. Both sides are fighting for a top 4 spots and a quarterfinal home match. That match 1 p.m. on Saturday. They did play earlier this year just to a 1-1 draw in April. That was at Red Bull Arena. Now, Christine, they're at CPKC Stadium, and Kansas City is coming off a powerful 3-0 win over Washington. Chewinga is just absolutely red hot this year. How confident are you that Kansas City is just going to continue that momentum forward?
They're an absolute force. That goes without saying. I think that if there's anyone out there that can stop them, it is Gotham. They have an outstanding defense. They have also been doing a really good job of just managing their rotation in terms of multiple competitions, fixture schedules, etc. And they're bouncing after their White House visit, so I'm pretty sure they've got like that extra morale boost that's extremely red, white, and blue, stars and stripes. So I think this will be a really fun match, to be fair.
Yeah, I think the twin confidence on either side of, like, you get to be the first NWSL team to ever visit the White House, and then playing in front of CPKC, like that stadium, those fans, the energy that they get from playing in front of them, and just how good KC is. I think that this game kind of negates itself. If I have to give an edge, Kansas City. If I have to pick a winner, I think a narrow Kansas City win, if there's going to be a winner. But sitting on the fence, I think it will be a draw, but the slightest of edge to KC because they've just been fantastic this year. Chewinga is a revelation. She is one of the biggest game changers I think we've ever seen in women's football. So I give the edge to KC, but I think that I agree with Cupo. I think they could cancel each other out.
Easily.
Yeah.
I think we've seen them try to make their adjustments defensively, Casey, more recently. I think it's still a work in progress. Gotham may be able to exploit that a little bit where they'll still leak a goal or two. I don't think it's going to be a super high scoring match, though. So, I mean, my prediction you didn't ask for is probably 2-1 Casey.
I'm just of the mindset that this is it. Like, we're in the final stretch of the season. There's 5 games left. Every single one of these games, especially the ones that we see against title contenders, let's say, are going to feel very tense and very kind of narrow. And I won't be shocked if maybe some of those score lines reflect that. I think we saw a preview of that already with the 0-0 score line between Kansas City and Orlando. So I won't be shocked if we see a little bit of that going or coming out of this game as well. So I'm with Aaron. And if you had to give an edge somewhere, maybe you give it to the home side and KC. But I think these are 2 teams that are kind of hitting their own respective peaks at the right time. So won't be shocked if it's either a draw or a narrow scoreline.
Gotham defensively this year is the second stingiest team in the league. They have 9 clean sheets in their 11 matches, only 2 goals against in their last 5. Aaron, this is a defense in Gotham that has really, really strengthened throughout this season. What's the key for them to slow down? I'm not going to say stop, but slow down Chewinga.
Yeah, I think the biggest key is not making mistakes. They are very, very organized. They're pressing triggers. They know when to jump. They know when to drop off. They play a very high line, but I think the balance has been struck between playing high but also being safe, which you can see from the defensive record. The biggest thing is you cannot make a mistake at all against Tim Chewinga. A loose pass, a loose touch, anything in the back it's a goal. she's through. You make one mistake defensively, one-on-one, she's through. So it takes perfect concentration for 90 plus. I think they have it in them, but it's going to be really, really difficult, which is why I think I give the slightest of edges to KC, because it's so hard to maintain concentration for that long and then have a player who will take advantage at 80 laps.
Kansas City being at home too just gives them that extra little edge. And with Gotham in third, Kansas City in fourth, they have an opportunity either side really to jump ahead and secure second place after this win. I know this one circled Saturday, 1 p.m. Kansas City against Gotham. Another big matchup happening Friday night. Angel City taking on Washington Spirit. Huge opportunity for Washington to clinch a top 4 seed plus a quarterfinal home match with a win against Angel City, and then they need North Carolina to drop some points as well. The first meeting between Washington and Angel City saw the Spirit get a 4-2 win that was at Audi Field, but Washington looks a lot different now, Christine, incredibly different. They are coming off of a loss 3-0 to Kansas City, and they're dealing with a lot of injuries. Trinity Rodman is unavailable due to a back injury. Croy Bethune is out for the season. Sarr isn't back yet from her back injury. They're without Kate Wiesner, and forward Lena Solano is out due to red card suspension from the last game. That's most of Washington's attack. Who steps up now?
I have questions myself. I don't know who is going to be entrusted to be like, hey, you have to do this, because we haven't seen them. Well, one, they haven't had the necessity to look beyond that depth and breadth of attackers. They've had that luxury, and they seem to have spelled that out more. I'd say, I mean, oh boy,
They have Lacey
gonna have to-
Santos.
I got
I'm
answers
thinking
for
that's
you.
going to be it. And
I think
Lacey
I have a bold take for you. I
Like,
think
I
that
did,
Spirit. Well, I think that they will be okay against Angel City. I think between Lacey Santos, Rosamund Kouassi, and then Ashley Hatch, who scored double-digit goals in the last 3 seasons for Washington Spirit, and kind of got pushed to the side because they brought in more elite attacking talent. She scored 2 goals, I think, against Houston in their match previous. I think that she is still an elite attacker. I think that between Lacey Santos and Kouassi behind her, whoever the fourth attacker will be, whether that's McKenna Morris, whoever steps in, I think that against Angel City, they will still be successful, especially with the midfield they have, the defenders they have. I think that it was a little bit of a one-off when they played against Kansas City, because that's the best team in the league, probably one of the best teams in the league. But against Angel City, I think that they will probably score some goals, and I think Lacey Santos will get a bag. I think Kouassi will have some fun, and I really think Ashley Hatch might get a brace or something like that.
Washington.
Soccer gods, forgive me. I blanked on Ashley Hatch.
I was gonna say no love for
It's
her.
easy to forget because
I'm
she's
like-
been in the background all season.
Yeah.
I know, but how does that happen? She is so impactful, but she
Yeah.
also goes so forgotten, by me as well. I'm going to say the opposite, actually, Aaron. I think that Angel City know how to rally when they have to, and I think they're going to try to take advantage of a Trinity-less Washington Spirit this go round. I think that blood's in the water. They got to go for it.
Some of Angel City blood potentially in the water, because they've had 2 matches now in 1 week. They played Monday, they drew 2-2 with Portland, and now they have a Friday match. So Monday to Friday, Sandra, that's a quick turnaround. How much does that force Becky Tweed into rotation, and what could that look like Friday night against Washington?
I'm curious about it myself, but I'm curious about it in a way where if they have the ability to do that in terms of the time frame that's in front of them. I think I mentioned earlier already during some of our previewing that this is it. The timeline is just getting shorter and shorter for these teams. And I think especially if you are a bubble team, one like Angel City that is multiple points away from that playoff line, you're talking about maybe a 1-game swing. You have got to look at these games and go all in, even if you are riding perhaps maybe a little bit of a match heavy schedule. this is a game that they're playing at home. Maybe they look at it as an opportunity to have a little bit more freedom to not maybe shake up the lineup too much. They get to train at home. You know, you get to sleep in your own bed. Those things matter. You're not traveling on this type of week after you've had maybe some heavier fixtures, but they have to look at this Washington Spirit side. Yes, they're going to respect them, but not respect them so much that they almost kind of intimidate themselves away from a result. Because Angel City, look, this shout out to Adrian in this stat. The fact that they've dropped more points than any other team in a leading position, that is dangerous. That's a dangerous stat. It's one that you probably won't be proud of if you recognize that as a team and say, okay, we've allowed ourselves to let points slip away. We've almost put ourselves in this position to claw a little too much at times in the second half of a season. But if they're looking across the way with no Rodman, with no Sar, with no Bethune, they have got to look at that as opportunities to try to rack up all 3 points at home. They're wading into very dangerous waters right now, where it's like there's enough time for them to have some of these moments and still make an impact in the second half, but they're getting into the area where they're still needing maybe a little bit of help in other areas too. And it starts to get really dangerous when you're a bubble team and you need not only to control your own fate, but a little help from others as well. It takes things out of your hands. So this is a must win for Angel City.
It is
Sandra,
a must win for Angel City. Yeah. No, 3-match winless streak for Angel City, Aaron.
Yeah, two things I'm really happy Sandra mentioned. Number one, Audrey Tonelli, because she's the greatest. And number two, this stat that they have dropped more points, Angel City, than any other team from a leading position, especially when you given the fact that they've just played the number of minutes that these players have played. I think it really, really bodes poorly for them to turn around so quickly.
It's going to be tough for Angel City to go against a Washington Spirit side that has just so much depth. I know we did talk about Ashley Hatch, but there is McKenna Morris, Courtney Brown, the young players up top that have stepped up in moments of need for the Spirit. Brittany Radcliffe too, she also, Christine, is one of those players that can get lost in the shuffle along with Ashley Hatch because there's so many other star powers. But Radcliffe is a player that has so much consistency. She is steady. You know what you're going to get from her on the pitch. She can step into any situation and you know what you're going to get from her. Crosses from the end line into the box, gritty defensively. She's going to put pressure on the opposition. And if Angel City's looking to build out of the back and go through their possession centrally, it's going to be difficult to get past a Washington side. I think Washington's going to take this one. They're going to clinch that home quarterfinal game in the playoffs. But I like this matchup a lot between two teams that are desperate for a rebound and desperate for points from Washington and Angel City. The Chicago Red Stars taking on North Carolina Courage. 5th place North Carolina, traveling to 6th place Chicago. The points on the line here are so crucial for both sides. In June, they faced off at Wake Med, North Carolina, getting the better of Chicago 3-1. But Chicago right now, Sandra, looks a lot different. They're on a 2-match win streak. They've had 2 clean sheets in their last 2 matches. Alyssa Nair, goalkeeper, just signed a contract extension. I'm going to put you on blast here, bud. I'm sorry to do it, but you weren't sure how well Chicago would do about 2 weeks ago when we spoke about them coming into this playoff push, and they've gotten 2 wins. How have they impressed you in the last 2 weeks?
Honestly, the new additions, and I don't mind being put on blast. Look, it's always the ones you love the most, right? That send you the most pain, right? And I think that's a mutual relationship here between me and Chicago. But I got to say, I think it's probably these new additions, Lisa. They are players that have provided a layer of newness and unpredictability to some game planning from Chicago that has gotten a little bit stale over the course of a long regular season. When you look across the board at teams and their tactics, I think at this point in the season, you were able to point to Chicago and say, this is what they're going to do. This is how they may line up. This is what we're going to do to make sure that we walk away with 3 points because of their lack of fluidity in that sense. But with new players into the mix, maybe it gives that layer of jarring up the opposition's game plan. There's now another very impressive attacking type of player to keep an eye on, to keep a mark on in Ludmila. And now they had their hand forced in making adjustments with no Sam Staub. they're starting to give Kari Recaro consecutive starts at the center back position, which I think for a lot of us who go here, we're maybe kind of screaming at that from the jump, because some of us remember a very good Kari Recaro sharing some center back responsibilities at Notre Dame collegiately. So this is not a position that she's unfamiliar with having success in. And it seems to be like there's some success now in that moment for Chicago. They have a little bit more stability now in that back line. That's obviously very helpful for Alyssa Nair as well. And up top of things, with Julia Grosso kind of working her way into the mix with Ludmila as another option. Again, it forces other teams, opposing teams, to be a little bit more honest when it comes to going up against the Red Stars.
This Red Stars team has added in Brazilian international forward Ludmila, who's coming off her first goal for Chicago last weekend in the Red Stars 1-0 win over San Diego. But Aaron, we haven't heard from Mallory Swanson. And by heard, I mean seen the celebration goal finding the back of the net. How can Ludmila and Swanson evolve their game together to be more effective in this match?
Yeah, I think it's tough because it's the middle of the season. It takes time for these things. And you ever been carrying something like really, really heavy, and then someone comes and just like helps you out with it, and it's a little disconcerting. You're like, oh, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. I got to figure out how we're going to carry this together. I think that's what's happening with Mal Swanson. She's been carrying a super, super heavy load, and now she's got a little help with Ludmila. Now they got to sort out who's holding this side, who's holding this side. I think it's a very short window for them to figure it out. I think that they will make playoffs, and they could really cause some trouble once they get there. But I think that this next match is going to be really, really telling to see Ludmila and Mal Swanson together.
Christine, for this North Carolina side, they have an opportunity to play spoiler in this match, because if they win and they pick up 3 points, they can prevent Washington, Gotham, and Kansas City from securing a top 4 spot. So not only are the points crucial for North Carolina in their own playoff hunt, but they can throw a lot of other people off their scent. How can North Carolina do that against a Chicago side?
Oh yeah, lob an absolute chaos grenade. Why not? No, they're more than capable. They have Caro back, Haley Hopkins, Ashley Sanchez. You got Pinto stepping up last week to score a goal. I think their firepower's in place. Casey Murphy needs some help, and she needs to keep a clean sheet. She hasn't done that in, 4 matches now, maybe 5. I don't know. Fact check me. They need to be more sound on that side, and I think they can sort of right the ship. I think that the Courage will stay in playoffs. So I'm just waiting for them to clinch. Just get it together, guys. Get it together.
This is a road match, Christine, for the Courage.
I know.
Oh,
I know. And they need that. They need that. They need that.
They need it for their confidence, right? Going into the final 4 weeks.
Like home, I'd have fewer doubts. On the road, they really need to figure out get a Bruja in there, get a Strega Nona, like somebody light a candle. I don't know what their problem is on the road. It could just be field dimension, maybe just they're used to playing in tighter spaces, but they need to figure it out.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors potentially that comes into it. Sandra, while we have you and we're talking about Chicago, any update on the potential debut of the Moroccan international forward Rosalia Ayan, who's on loan from Tottenham right now with the Red Stars? Could we see her?
Well, she is in fact here, so there is that. But I look in terms of her arrival, getting integrated into the team. If we see her on that game day roster, if she's available, it's might not be as a start. Maybe she's someone that you start off on the bench to kind of continue a little bit of some of that unpredictability that new players or rivals have presented for Chicago. That's what I would like to see. At least maybe this is someone that you bring in for a Swanson or for Ludmila later in the later stages of a game, depending on what the game is giving to them.
I like it. In the Pacific Northwest, at Lumen Field, Seattle Reign in 11th place are hosting 9th place Bay FC. This is a bubble matchup for these sides. Earlier, Aaron, when they met in April, it was 3-2 in favor of Bay, but now Seattle, they're coming off a 1-0 loss to Houston, a 2-match losing streak. They've been shut out as well. How does Laura Harvey and the Reign get attack going? What's the key when they're in the final third?
They've been really, really poor, and I don't see them getting it going in this match. Bay are very solid defensively. Abby Dahlkemper, we've had her on the show. She's a pillar in that back line. Emily Menges is fantastic beside her. I don't think that Seattle will be able to find a way past. I give a very slight edge to Bay. If they can find the back of the net, I think they win. At the very least, I think they get a point out of this one to Bay.
Yeah, I'm with Aaron. Honestly, I think you got to take a look also at when these teams first went head to head. It's a 3-2 scoreline, but this is also in April, which I think we can all agree was just a completely different time of the season for this league. And ever since
I was a different person back then.
Yeah, we all were, right? And I just think like with what Seattle's giving, like they're not part of really those type of games anymore. We haven't seen like 3-2 scorelines really for Seattle. We haven't seen them kind of just crack goal after in the net. And so I would argue or co-argue with Aaron that the scales might be tipping a little bit in Bay's favor, even if they are the home side, even if they're the ones with that little slight advantage going into this game. I think Bay at this moment of the season is playing for a lot more, and hopefully they will continue to play motivated by that.
What do you think, Christine? For this Bay side, defensively, they're solidifying themselves a little bit, right? Against North Carolina, they picked up points. Against Orlando last week, it was only a 1-0 loss. Defensively, Bay's coming together at the right point in the season.
They are coming together. I'm so sorry, Laura Harvey. Yeah, I think Bay locked this in. I think they're another team that are going to rally, but I don't know how the prospects will be, but I think they're going to come up with the win here.
I like that, Shal. This is a Seattle side, though, that right when you look at like the scheduling for Bay FC as they head into these final few weeks, they are a team that has the hardest schedule coming up. And this is an opportunity for Bay to pick up points on Seattle, but it has to come down to their balance on both sides of the ball, whether it's offense and defense. But meanwhile, for Seattle, they're struggling, Sandra, to have a lot of that consistency. Who can they rely on offensively?
Oh my goodness. I'd like to see Heidemeier step up a little bit more for this team. Honestly, I think at this point in the season, why not anyone from the back? Like maybe one of the outside backs, like gets so involved in the attack for Seattle that the goal production is coming from the wings. I think at this stage of the season, in Seattle's case specifically, you almost got to take it where you can get it, let alone picking a focal attacking player and saying, yes, go out there, Veronica Lasco, and save us. Like that's not only unfair to one specific player, but I think a number of players in the team who can maybe find themselves in positions to score. And I think there's the other side of that argument where you're just like, that's actually sounds kind of a tough situation for Seattle if there's no kind of actual focal type of attacking threat where it's more kind of spread around across different players. So I think earlier I said that, must win for Angel City in their game this week. But I think if you're Seattle, that's the same energy in this one as well. I think if you're Bay and you somehow let this one slip, you still got some type of point advantage and windows to maybe still try to make a solid playoff push. But if you're Seattle, it's just getting harder and harder and harder. And honestly, less and less believable because there are teams at this point of the year that we know are bona fide contenders that will have a shot at titles. Some that we will even say I've talked about as bubble teams. And I would argue that Seattle's maybe working their way out of that bubble. And a lot of it might be self-inflicted wounds.
It's tough. It's been a tough run for Seattle. They have a tough next few weeks of the NWSL season. If Seattle can get it done, it's going to fall on the shoulders of G. She has to be able to be consistent, step up, goal scoring ways, creating chances. That's a lot of pressure on one player, and you need supporting cast to do it. And Seattle has not proven that they are there at this point in the season. Meanwhile, Bay, they're getting stronger every single week. I love this matchup. Number 9 Bay traveling to number 11 Seattle, 3 points on the line in NWSL. I love this weekend of matches. I'm so excited for it.